So, hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about encyclopedias, and not just, they are not what we usually mean by the word encyclopedia. They are handmade, interactive books based on fictional literature for kids and teenagers. So, now, I'd like you to turn to the person next to you and exchange ideas. How do you see, just a second, how do you see an encyclopedia about a book? What can you put inside? What can you do with it? Meanwhile, I'll pass our encyclopedia that we made at our last lesson, so you can take a look at it. And so, you have a minute to discuss, to exchange ideas. How would you make an encyclopedia about a book? And take a look at my encyclopedia. Please start exchanging the ideas. All right, time's up. You can continue passing the encyclopedia to see what I mean, actually. Now, a year ago, I was asking myself a question. How can we get teenagers interested in books? And I'm talking about teenagers, so from 10 to 12 years old, low-level students. Okay, 10, 12 years, low-level. And actually, there was another question, how to attract new students. The market, if you can call it so, had been occupied. We started too late, and all the students had been taken. So we decided to attract the students, we decided to start a club, Sunday Book Club, which was not the most obvious decision, because first of all, teenagers don't like attending lessons on Sundays. And the second thing is that most of the teenagers, they just don't like books. Do they? It's not the case if we are making this kind of interactive encyclopedias about books. So, when we talk about books, there are some problems. They can be not really attractive. For teenagers, they just don't look cool enough. Or they can be fantastic. This is my collection of Robert Saboda. Fantastic books. Lots of pop-up elements. Lots of interactive elements. Absolutely cool illustrations. But there is still a problem, because these books are just too difficult. Look at this text. Oh, if you can. Our students, they've got weak English skills. So their English skills are weak and they can't read such texts. And honestly, even if the book is interesting and nice and look cool, it is not enough to have the attention for like the whole lesson. We need to do something, not just to read a book. So instead of just reading a book or writing a book, we made a decision of creating these kind of encyclopedias. And while creating them, students get into this process, they get involved, inspired, and after that, they can actually go home and read the original books. So here are the problems I'm talking about. And we also have to remember, even if we are creating these wonderful, very beautiful encyclopedias, handmade, it is still a lesson. So we need writing, listening, speaking, reading, and of course creating. We need creating because, as I have mentioned before, we need to get students involved into this process. And the story must be famous, well known. And here is a tricky point, tricky moment. You need to make it as easy for students as possible. So basically, you are doing all the job, I'm sorry. You do all the preparations and so on. But at the same time, it's not like you just give them ready-made books. They have to have opportunity to make these books unique somehow. To put their individuality into this book, because they're teenagers, they want to express themselves. So, what would the students get from a lesson like this? They'll learn and use new words and constructions like grammar. They will improve their listening, reading, writing, and so on. It may be not all the things at one lesson, not necessarily. They'll create something that they can take home and be proud of and show their parents. And yeah,
Grandparents.
exactly. And they will also get a lot of positive emotions from the creation process. So they will come back to your book club, they will come back to your lessons, and they will come back not because they are ordered to, but it's because they want to. And it's very important because when we do something and we are emotionally attached to what we do, we get inspired. So, now what we do, how do we make a book? Step one is pick up a book. It must be a well-known story. Now, I want you to tell me which books do you think are good for teenagers? Well-known books.
Harry Potter.
Yes, Harry Potter, the first books that we did.
Tom Sawyer. We did.
Tom Sawyer is also a very good option, and
Twilight.
it's classy, it's very classy, fantastic.
Twilight.
Yes, and by the way, the book is not that bad, but the book is actually very good, much better than the movie. Oh yes, it's one of my favorites.
Peter Pan.
Yes, we also did, we made Peter Pan, yes, thank you very much. And which stories are not so good?
Classics.
Which one?
Classics, not so interesting.
Oh, Tom Sawyer was not bad, but yeah.
Fairy tales.
Classic fairy tales, yes, like Cinderella. It is complicated to, yeah, they will just not accept it. Okay, and when we talk about famous books, you have to remember that the stories might be known not because the students read the books, but because they watched the movie or cartoon, and we too. Let's check about us. So, let's be already. Do you know authors? Like, surnames are enough for me. Just give me the surnames of this book. Harry Potter? Okay. Narnia? Lewis. Yes? Okay. No. Yes, okay, very good. Hunger Games? No? Not really into modern literature. Suzanne Collins? Peter Pan? Very good. And Alice in Wonderland? Yeah, fantastic. Honestly, I didn't remember the author of Narnia myself at first. Okay, so that is good. Now, let's go back to steps. Step 2, choose a vocabulary and grammar to work with. So, for example, when you work with Alice in Wonderland, low-level students, it could be about clothes, for example. There are lots of beautiful clothes, so we can discuss them. Or when we talk about Harry Potter, what can we discuss? What kind of vocabulary?
Magic.
Magic vocabulary. Kind of magic, right? Because we remember there are parents, and they don't always accept magic. But yes, frogs, potions. Okay, school subjects, by the way, very good. Okay, then after you decided what to do, you have to think of two things. Content of the lesson and of the encyclopedia, because they are really connected together. You have to not just give the task and then do the page. No, it has to be like mixed in one, combined together. So choose the skills, because sometimes we skip listening, sometimes we skip reading, and choose the skills and choose what pop-up elements, what interactive elements could you use in your encyclopedia. If you, after this conference, decide to start a club, I highly recommend you to not use the same pop-up elements all the time, because the students just get used to it. Now, there are some simple themes that you can use every lesson. I'll tell you about them later. But it's better to sometimes use one pop-up element like waterfall, then the simplest one, and so on. But this is kind of theory, right? And you have to remember one thing. Preschoolers usually like when we tell them where we are going, what we are doing. They love everything is clear. They love revising the same things many times, watching the same cartoon 20 times. Teenagers, they don't like it. They like when it's a secret. They love to be surprised. So you have to remember that. Keep it in mind. Now. Let's go to practice. That's my favorite part. So, how do you start your encyclopedia? First, you start with the cover. And here is the first mistake that you might make. Look, I made these ready-made covers. And students didn't like them. They wanted to make these covers unique. So they cut out the elements, and this is what we got. It doesn't look really cool, right? So students, they kind of made it, but at the same time, they didn't like it. It must be cool, but it must be cool because you prepared everything and thought about everything. So, and by the way, look, if there is no background here, it just can't look cool. So if there was some background, like Hogwarts, for example, it might look much better. One small thing changes everything. We changed it with Alice in Wonderland. Left some space for personalization. And what we did was you cut the hole in the cover. And then on the second page, you can actually put a character from the book. And students can choose. Okay, now it's personal. Now they are choosing. Now it's kind of unique for them. So they are happy. They don't need to read the cover anymore. And it looks cool enough for them, so it's good. But this is the cover. Then we are talking about listening. How can we perform listening if we are actually making an encyclopedia book? What you can do, there are some characters from Alice in Wonderland. We make cards, then we listen to some phrases, and you think, who is saying that? And for my students, because they're low level, I wrote all the phrases on the whiteboard, but I think you don't need it. So, this is just one page from encyclopedia, but you see, if they just write down the phrases, it won't be interesting for them. But when it looks like this, they are happy. This boy, you see this boy, he's one of my favorites because he actually doesn't like to, not like he doesn't like to attend lessons at school, but he just run away from them. He doesn't go to them. He stands up and leaves the class every lesson. And he goes to my classes, to the club, because he likes to create, and he actually started to learn irregular verbs. Thanks God. Okay, so let's do it together. Who is saying that? Let's listen to the first audio. Listen. Don't look, close your eyes, okay? Close your eyes.
It's a rabbit.
Yes, rabbit. What is he saying?
I'm late.
I'm late. Oh, my ears and whiskers. Yes. Wonderful. Next one, please. No? Next one, it just doesn't work. Okay, next one.
You can see it. Okay, so she's...
Yeah, it's true. It's Have I Gone Mad? Yeah. It's my Hatter, yes. Actually, it's written on... Office has... Okay, I will say. Office has had. Who is saying that?
The queen.
Red Queen, very good. Have I gone mad? You may have noticed that I'm not all here myself. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so that's what we did with students, but without technical problems. And now, writing. Sometimes I like classic exercises. For example, gap filling. It's always good to revise past simple with lower-level students. So it doesn't look that bad if you keep all the encyclopedia style, the same style, and they write down, they do the gap filling. That's very simple. And actually, it's a good way to revise the story, because not all of the students know the story. Sometimes some of them might never heard of some stories. So it's a good way to revise the story and to practice past simple. But it's a little bit boring, so one exercise like this is enough. Then, creative writing. Fantastic one. What we always do. It's an encyclopedia, so what you have to do, you have to write about characters. Always. But you can perform it in a kind of encyclopedia way, like we did with Harry Potter. Or with Alice in Wonderland, students just wrote what they thought about characters, what they knew about characters. And again, background makes a difference, right? And this is the simplest pop-up element. By the way, about pop-up element, that's very funny, but here's a tricky point that you might use. When people cut out the pop-up elements, they use this ruler and like 5 centimeters. Just cut it. 1, 2, that's all. It will work anyway. That's how it is. It will work. Just make 2 cuts, show it to the students. It will take 2 seconds instead of 2 minutes. For your lesson, I think it's very important, right? To keep students busy and to make it clear and fast. Then, what else can you do? You can see here, Daily Prophet, it's kind of newspaper from Harry Potter. The first letter is H. So we discuss with students who can that be?
Hermione.
Hermione? Oh, thank you very much. No one else said that. Hagrid. Everyone forgets about it.
Hogwarts.
Hogwarts, actually, thank you very much. Usually they say Harry Potter or Hermione, yes. So, and then we think what we write about. Future, present, or past. So we first pick up the character, for example, Hermione, and then we think news about past, present, or future. And as we actually revise lots of like present continuous for future to be going to when we perform the following task, so it's better to use future. The following task is like schedule for a student from Hogwarts. So the students really love writing this, like to-do list. What do you need to do at Hogwarts? Can you tell me, what do you need to do at Hogwarts?
Learn the spells by heart.
Don't forget homework. Snape. Yes.
Go to the library.
Fight monsters.
Go to the library before 6 o'clock. Yes.
Fight monsters.
Fight. It's funny saying like to-do list. Fight monsters.
Battle exams.
Very good. Yes. So they love writing these kind of things, and then we can write about appointments, and they really like writing like I'm meeting Dumbledore at 3 o'clock. It's so, it's such a traditional exercise which we actually need just to drill this kind of I am doing this at, I am doing that at. But with Harry Potter, there is a huge difference. Students are excited. I'm going to talk to Snape about my potion exam. And I'm talking to Snape at 3 o'clock, whatever it is, like going to, or it's in your schedule already, so present continuous, whatever. So this kind of creative writing. Then, some creation. I told you that there must be some creation, right? So what we do, there is no video, because I'm always scared of technical problems. So first picture, you see there is a paper, then you move it, and here is a secret message, because there is a hole in the paper, and you can see the secret message. And students love writing themselves secret messages. And then there's a picture with Harry Potter and his mother. Actually, we can do it like with students, but it's much more difficult. They love it, and I like to finish with something big, you know, huge pop-up. So for Hogwarts, it's like castle, or with Alice in Wonderland. Oh yeah. Actually, yes, like this. And last thing I would love to tell you is that don't be scared of using physical objects in your encyclopedias. For example, what do you think is there? Up there, next to Alice. Drink me. It's a small bottle, or it can be a small jar, or small bottle, whatever it is. What is inside? What do you think it is?
Salt.
Huh?
Sand.
Okay, what does it represent? Potion, or what else?
Drink.
Dr-
Some liquid.
Okay, not physical object. What does it like? What is the idea? It's her These are her emotions. Actually, you don't see, but it's pink and orange. One girl chose pink and orange because she said Alice is full of love. That's how she got into Wonderland, and she's she's very like full of energy, and that's why it's orange. Actually, each of the students told me, I think Alice is, or Alice has got, and that's why I choose blue, or that's why I choose green. So it's very interesting. And I can pass you some jars. Here you are. You can look at them. Here are emotions. Sadness is mine. I made the sadness. This is happiness. I'm sorry, we ran out of time. 3 minutes left. You can ask questions.
Is this a collective piece of work, or everybody does his or her own book?
The pages are the same, but they can choose the elements.
How long does it last to make
Wait a second. Oh, sorry.
How long does it last? How long does it take to make one book?
It takes. How long does it take? Yeah, how long does it take you to prepare it? If you spend hours to prepare it, it lasts for 1 hour. If you don't prepare it, it lasts for 2 hours, but you have to talk to parents, because half of the time they will actually
How
come.
many lessons? Yeah. Is it one lesson or a sequence of lessons?
As you wish. With Harry Potter, there was a sequence because we wanted it to be so. We wanted a course of Harry Potter. With Alice in Wonderland, 1 lesson, 60 minutes. Okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Well, anyway, what happens at the classroom language-wise? Like, how do you fill the activity with are you talking about the content of the book? Are you listening to something? How do you practice the language itself while you're
Of course we do. They don't just cut. I really, may I say, I hate when students just sit down and cut, or more than that, when it's a kind of beautiful workshop, some people think, well, oh, I will use some Russian language, it's not a big deal. No, we are discussing, we are talking about Alice in Wonderland, why, for example, when they were cutting the door, actually I usually cut out the doors myself, but they were cutting out the doors, and we were discussing, like, why is there a door? And we decided that it's a door out of Wonderland, I'm sorry, because she is living Wonderland, because she is a very strong person who needs to grow up. And it was not my idea, my students told me that.
Do you work with the text itself?
Text?
Yes.
With Peter Pan, we read a part of the text, but our idea is that we do the retelling, and after that lesson, students get inspired and they can read the text if they want to, and they will have some achievements after that, get some achievements after that.
It's really true. After Great completed, we had some lessons, yes. All my students start reading really.
Thank you very much. I really, that's
Teenager students. Really.
it's very important for me.
And how do you find time for
all the stuff from cutting out.
I really do my work, yeah.
Oh, you don't sleep.
Actually, yes. You know,
That's why I'm full of energy.
thank you so much because I have prepared a slide for this to show you what is waiting for you. What a beautiful new life is waiting for you. Just look at it. It's one day. So, yeah. So this is one day of my life. Actually, I always have papers with me. If you come to the table after the speech, you will see me cutting. I'm always cutting something if I have, like when you're just sitting and waiting, why don't just cut something? Why not have fun?